All right, what's going on? To the no people actually watching my stream. But what do I got to get into? What do I want to get into tonight? Well, you know, everywhere it goes on, it's always the same story. And it's the story of the PSYOP. Right? It's basically the vast majority of important things in the world today are a PSYOP. That's the way it is. I know, like, people don't want to hear it, but it is what it is. Give me 1 second. I took that opportunity to turn down my AC. Sorry about that. Should have done that before I started the live stream. But basically, everything is a PSYOP, whether you like it or not. It just is. The hallmark of a PSYOP, the easiest way to spot it, was put by this guy, Chase Hughes, but you know, not that I have a lot of confidence in that dude, but, you know, it's like 100% of, like, basically half of the people that Rogan has on now it's a PSYOP. But a PSYOP depends on you going with the narrative. That's what it is. In order for a PSYOP to work, it has to have a certain level of buy-in. That buy-in must be demanded, and it is what it is. Normal people have to act as the enforcer. Like, what are some PSYOPs that we've seen lately? Oh, I don't know. COVID? PSYOP. That's how I knew it was bullshit at the time. Okay? Now, I got more into figuring this stuff out later on. It's not like I'm an expert at it. There's Alex Jones is out, all these people, they're out there, right? But what I'm saying to you is, just think back throughout your life. If you're in your 40s or 50s now, you remember the narrative during the Iraq War. It was the weirdest thing in the world to me. When the Iraq War was going on, and just about every war has that, this is how you know it's a PSYOP, right? Go back to World War I. Basically, people got arrested. This is where you get the ruling, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. That ruling came out of, you know, the time, I forget what year it was, but while we were involved in World War I, and it was about anybody that questioned the official narrative of the war they were currently fighting. They arrested people. This is pretty standard. Okay, but like then you get into Brandenburg v. Ohio, which, you know, got rid of that, said it was a bad ruling. But fast forward till now, you're not allowed to notice things. Did you notice that? Did you notice? Oh, bro, everything. It's all a PSYOP, right? It just is. Because here's what I can say. I can make assertions to you right now that you would just laugh and walk away from. You know what I mean? You don't need to drink water. Does everybody have to be on board with the narrative that you have to drink water? No. Why? Well, because we already know what's going to happen to somebody if they don't drink water. They're going to get dehydrated. And if they go long enough without drinking water, they're going to die. Everybody knows that. Eating. Right? You don't have to eat healthy. You don't have to eat healthy. Okay. Did you get mad that I said that you don't have to eat healthy? getting bit by a king cobra isn't actually dangerous. Okay? That sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? Sounds really ridiculous. I don't think this disease is as bad as the media is making it out to be. You're to be fired. You're spreading dangerous misinformation. That's weird. I don't think 9/11 unfolded the way it was reported in the media. I've got some questions like how Tower 7 fell at free fall speed. Conspiracy theorist! That's weird. I don't think an iceberg sank the Titanic. You're a loony, right? This is how you know where you've gotten... this is how you know it's a psyop, the person's lying to you. It's just, it always works like this. See, Alex Karp. Alex Karp is having a melty right now. If you don't know who Alex Karp is, Alex Karp, and all of this is going to tie in together on how it's all a psyop. Stop paying attention to it. Who cares? I don't know how we all got dragged into this. But, okay, let's go to Alex Karp. Alex Karp is having a melty over the fact that Michael Burry is shorting Palantir. Now, it is my belief, and we're going to go over the numbers in a second, it is my belief that Palantir is massively overvalued. Okay? So, let's take a look, right? Alex Karp's having a melty over the fact that Michael Burry started shorting, been called a... Yeah, I know, Bright, you probably wouldn't be listening to me if you didn't have somewhat of a conspiratorial mind. But it's like, dude, it's so ridiculous. And I'm going to get into how bad the psyops are everywhere. And it's going to be about Tucker and Nick Fuentes, right? But melty is hilarious. Yeah, no, dude, I like when somebody's having a meltdown. I like calling it a melty. But Alex Karp's having this melty over. Okay, let's look at Palantir. But first, I want to do one thing. Let's bring up a Word doc because I just want to write something down. Let's see. What is this? I don't know what these are. Okay. That's not what I want. Word. Alright. I'm going to write down some numbers. Okay? But, here, I'm going to put you guys... Oh, it's still here. Alright. Sweet. Alright. I'm going to put you guys up on screen. I'm going to share my screen. Alright. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at Palantir, right? All right, let's look at Palantir. So you're telling me the market cap is $452 billion, okay? And this is why, this is going to just illustrate why. What we're going to do is tell this Word document to suck a bag of dicks, all right? And F off. Okay, great. Now I need to add to this. All right, if it will let me do that. Because my computer is kind of a cunt. All right, there we go. Let's remember. Sets equal shareholder equity plus liabilities. All right, there we go. So let's write this out. So that there's no doubt, because I already know what's coming. I don't know when it's going to happen. Could be years from now. We'll do 452 billion equals, right? Okay. So if you've ever taken an accounting class, I'm sure that you have. You know that you have to make this formula balance. Okay? So let's look at Palantir. It is 8 billion. So in this case, it would be what? 84, that it would be $8, right? Okay, so this is what I'm saying to you. If I take the formula, right? If I use the accounting formula right here, and there's going to be some people that are going, Jay, you don't want to do that. Literally, I'll spend a live stream just calculating intrinsic value or approximate value, and I'll show you how it all leads back to the accounting formula being just the easiest way to figure out whether if I did a ton of find the way they tell Alex Karp is getting upset. This formula doesn't balance. And Michael Burry is shorting it, which I personally think shorting is stupid. I don't know, like, I don't know why everybody is obsessed with shorting stock and stuff like that. Like, it's like you guys can't just sit there and dollar cost average, wait until, right, there's like an obvious crash, okay? And if you bought Palantir earlier, when it wasn't that overvalued, let's use the ratios and go back to 2023. Whatever year, it was right here. No, wasn't. No, it's always been bad, to be honest with you. But, I mean, you're looking at, I'm going to put you guys back up on the screen. Okay. You're looking at your price to operating cash flow is 248.91. All right. Let's show how this will come out to be about the same if we do it this way. All right. Let's put this up here. All right. Let's do, what we're going to do is we're going to just do a quick, if I had a pen, that would be awesome. I don't know where the fuck I put my pen. Where'd I put my pen? All right, here it is. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to use operating cash flow, $452 billion. We're going to do 400 over 248. And then I'm going to give equals X over, we'll do a high end of fair. We'll do the actual highest. We'll do 11. Let's see what that gives us. What kind of market cap that would give us. All right. So, all right. Let's look real quick. 52 times divided by 248. Even that would put it at a $20 billion market cap. If its operating cash flow was at 20. So, or if its operating cash flow was at 11, it would have a $20 billion market cap. So that's, again, that's telling me this thing is massively overvalued. But if this wasn't overvalued, do you think Alex Karp, or do you think if Palantir was selling at a reasonable price, let's do this one, Oxy, okay? Because I need to make a greater point, right? We look at this, your total assets, wherever it is, 84 billion. Okay? That's the total assets there. We're looking at Occidental Petroleum. And let's also notice it went down a little bit. Well, this is just year to date. So, no, for 2024, okay, so it went down here, down for a little bit. It's come back up. Rough time with oil, whatever. But you have $84 billion in assets right there, okay? And you have a $39 billion market cap. If Michael Burry told the CEO of Occidental Petroleum that he was going to short Oxy, when you have $84 billion in assets and a $40 billion market cap, what do you think the CEO of Occidental Petroleum would say? Do you think he would be upset, or do you think he would start laughing hysterically at Michael Burry? This is the greater point of how you know it's a psyop. A psyop demands that you go with the narrative. Otherwise, it fails. Okay? It's like any psyop, right? You know, it's like you look around. Well, I got questions about Charlie Kirk's death. Oh, sounds like you're an anti-Semite. Charlie Kirk wasn't a Jew. It sounds like you're transphobic. See, this is what it is. All the sides, whether it's left or right, what really we're dealing with two sides of the left, to be honest with you. I don't think the Republican Party of today are actually conservatives. And I've said that for years. Think about it like this. Who in reality becomes a politician? Think about it. You get the occasional good person that goes into politics, but mostly politics is about narcissism and enriching yourself. And, you know, that's how you end up with guys like Ted Cruz being up there who's just fake as fuck. Oh yeah, dude, Big Short is back, baby. But dude, honestly, I think what Michael Burry is doing is stupid, but it might work out for him. I'm not going to do it because shorting is actually just gambling. And if you're good at it. I'm not. Okay? And to me, I think it's dumb. But grifters and psychopaths. Yeah, that's what they all are. Let's think about this logically, right? Do you remember? I remember I was giving my opposition to the United States bombing Iran. And then this dude gets mad at me in the sauna. He got mad at me because it was just brought up, and I was like, yeah, I'm not down with that. And the dude started getting mad that I didn't agree. He started calling me an isolationist, basically all of that. And I looked at him and I go, hey, bro, we've been at war for basically the past 20 years. Okay? Why am I a non-interventionalist after I served in Iraq? Because I don't want us to get involved in another Middle Eastern war. They're over there, we're over here. And it's like, this is the call. Every time that somebody wants a war and, you know, you're not going along with it, here's what happens next. Well, we tried this, and you saw what happened during World War II. We got Adolf Hitler. Well, bro, the rise of Hitler is slightly more complicated than his interactions with Neville Chamberlain. That's the reality of it. They act like just this one time in history. They act like because Neville Chamberlain didn't immediately, drop the nuke on Germany, that, and here's even the worst part of it, right? Here's the worst part of it. It's like this has been used ad nauseum because we got hijacked by communists in the 1930s. Like, had we stayed true, and there's going to be a lot of people, and here's another way you know it's a psyop. If you question the official narrative of World War II, whoa boy, do people start coming after you. You question the origin story of the American Empire, but like, here's the main point of this. FDR made the Depression worse because FDR was a communist, awkward bundle of sticks. Okay? That's what he was. He came out of the progressives. These guys were all big government involved in every aspect of your life, because when you have big government, it assures elites rule. Where does the power from the elites come from? It comes from the government monopoly on force. Okay? But here would have been my solution in America. First off, I wouldn't have went to war. Well, is it like you wouldn't have gotten us involved in World War II? No. Because America had everything that it needed within its borders. Okay? Let them fight out there. They're not going to... Well, Jay, here's the thing. If you didn't fight Germany over there, they were going to come over here. This is the dumbest line I've ever heard anybody say. And this is another way, in fact, that I can get a baseline for your intelligence. Okay? When you tell me, when I was in the military, they'd go, hey man, we're over in Iraq fighting them over there so we don't have to fight them over here. And I go, what the fuck are you talking about? And they go, whoa, Al-Qaeda. I go, Al-Qaeda's going to mount, like, what, did they have an aircraft carrier or something? They're going to mount an invasion. They'd be like, well, no, but, you know, if we weren't over there, right, what they would do is come over here and do terrorist attacks. Okay, but, like, how are we preventing them from doing terrorist attacks by being over there? Well, Jay, you know, because we're fighting them over there, so we don't have to fight them over here. No, I know, but I just disproved your argument. No, man. You're not getting it. We're fighting them over there, so we don't have to fight them over here. See, people, the reason why psyops work on most people is most people will acquiesce to the group. I happen to not be one of those people. The other reason is because people don't want to admit they don't know something. This is what traps you. And then, I mean, there's a percentage of people that are just fucking dumb, right? I mean, how dumb do you have to be a person that lives in the year 2025, and it doesn't matter what country you live in, but this is how I know you're fucking stupid, okay? And there's just nothing you can do about it. You can't fix stupid, as Ron White would say. But here's how I know you're stupid. You go, yeah, I believe my government. What? No, I think my government's mostly honest. Okay, let me get this straight. Doesn't matter what country it is. Your government is filled with lying, narcissistic scumbags. There's some good people in there. And in fact, I would say, in at least the United States government, I think the vast majority of people that work for the government are good people. But this is the problem with hierarchical organizations. They will get hijacked by the most psychopathic, narcissistic people. Those are the people that end up in charge. Why? They don't care about doing their job. They're willing to lie or say anything, you know, if it advances their career. While you're sitting there actually doing the TPS report, you know, fantasizing about going fishing or whatever inane activities you do on the weekends. While you're sitting there finishing the TPS report, Captain Narcissist Psychopath is over there ingesting massive amounts of farts into his mouth from the higher up and then farting back in their mouth to regurgitate the fucking same. Like, oh yeah, the plebes should never have guns because that would just, allow them to be able to fight back against the government. But again, I go back to it. If you believe your government cares about you and you are anything more to them than an economic input on an Excel spreadsheet, you are fucking stupid. Like, you shouldn't be allowed to breed. Like, this is during COVID. It's amazing to me. Screw this unconstitutional bullshit is what I posted. Just go live your lives. You all be fine at the end of this. Don't don't let them take away your freedom. Well, whatever. Attacked. You don't know what you're talking. Okay, but I was correct. Did anybody apologize to me for that? No. Right? Again, here we are. We've got the Zorhan in New York City. Okay? I'm going to make the buses run on time. How? I'm going to have government-sanctioned grocery stores. It's already failed in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm gonna tax millionaires and billionaires. So you're gonna steal from them. For what? Your client class. Okay? But again, everything's a psyop. Because it all demands your body. My favorite one. You have no idea how many people have gotten upset with me when I said, I will not support the drug war. I will not assist you. Okay, so I can't do anything about the drug war. I think the war on drugs is one of the most anti-constitutional and the biggest infringements on the Constitution we've ever had. There's things that infringed on the Constitution more, like slavery, all of that good jazz. But I'm just saying, the war on drugs is up there, okay? And when I'm talking to people and I go, yeah, I'm not going to convict anybody of a nonviolent drug crime. There are certain crimes I'm just not going to. Conservatives will get mad at me. If it's a common street walking hooker and a normal dude, and you're out there with your vice squad and all of that bullshit, I'm not convicting the guy if he takes it to trial. Again, if you are an otherwise law-abiding citizen, I'd say you're in New York, which has some of the stringest gun control in the nation. You get caught with a gun in New York, and, you're not in the process of committing a crime. I don't even care if you're a felon. Like, if you got out of jail 10 years ago, because maybe you got yourself a little problem with crystal meth, maybe you did some robberies here or there, maybe you punched a dude in the dick, whatever it was. I don't care. That's not a crime. I'm not going to convict you in court. The anger that comes from the other side when I just won't. They're like, all right, Jay, as you know, we are not allowed to decide which laws we're going to follow and which ones we're not. And I go, yeah, I don't give a fuck about that, right? Like, the fact that you're going to sit here and say that to me, you have no authority over me, right? I don't consult you. I'm a grown-ass man. I just told you what the reality of it is. Hey, this guy got caught with 4 fully automatic M16s, right? 4 fully automatic rifles with 2 midgets, and he's smuggling 50 pounds of cocaine into this country. I am going to look at you and go, this is not a crime. Okay? People get mad. Climate change. Disagreeing with people about climate change. They get visibly angry with you. obviously it's called cognitive dissonance. Okay, we know what it's called. But, I mean, this is the hallmark of how bad these psyops are in America, where they come out and they go, if you feel a little bit of anxiety about what you're about to say, when you're disagreeing with somebody about something, and that person starts acting radical towards you, it's a psyop. They've been psyoped. That's how it works. Like, I don't... I don't know what... I don't know or understand why other people don't see it. Zoomer Historian and on YouTube actually has a lot of detailed videos on the Austrian painter. Very interesting. Yeah, no, dude, in this, bro, there's way more to that story. I would have to go back. I would have to do a lot more research than I've done. But these people act like they use this excuse in the modern world. They go, oh, well, you know, if we don't go take out Saddam, that's another Hitler. Right? And they act as though Hitler became Hitler all on his own. Like there wasn't other interactions there. Yeah, clearly Hitler needed a group of people to unite his base. And he chose an easy group of people, the Juden. Okay? But it's actually just amazing to me that it's like, oh, England was just this, and England and the rest of Europe were just these innocent baby angels sitting there. But yeah, I just don't understand. Like, as a person with a pretty good memory, but like my introduction to the PSYOP, I think, was the Iraq War. You know, at the time, when we first went into Iraq, America did. I didn't go in. But I was stationed at Ramstein, Germany. And I would come home, and my dad would get pissed off at me when I said, yeah, we should be concentrating on Afghanistan. Because at the time, I didn't know that was a PSYOP too. You know, that was about the opium trade. But, well, Jay, what are you saying? That was Al-Qaeda. We just put the head of Al-Qaeda and ISIS. He's now in charge of Syria. So, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. 9 of the 11 hijackers were Saudi. Okay? Those are the guys that did those are the 9/11 guys. So I don't know what to tell anybody if you're getting upset. But yeah, but I noticed this back in the day, that people would just start repeating what the TV was telling them. And it was actually disturbing to me. People that were my friends and family, I would look at them and I would go, what are you talking about? I'm like, that's not how that happened. And they'd be like, no, I saw that on CNN. And I was like, bro, CNN's just propaganda. Yeah. But it's don't argue with these people. They're like NPCs in Skyrim. They just repeat the same line. Bro, I know, but it's like, it's disturbing. It is disturbing how effective propaganda actually is. It's disturbing that you have friends and family that are pretty intelligent that get psyoped this easy. And it's leading me into my next subject. I don't make an attempt to talk. Yeah, I'm pretty much highly recommend. I'll check it out. Zoomer Historian. I'll check it out, bro. But if you guys are unaware, the other day, Tucker Carlson had Nick Fuentes on his podcast. And hold on, I'm right. Nick Fuentes. And the meltdowns are coming hard. That's what I was... So I was typing in there because I was going to bring up and see what was in my feed. But again, Nick Fuentes on Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro has come up. Ben Shapiro is... I was never really that big a fan of Ben Shapiro. You know, I would see some of his clips where he's dunking on these college kids that don't know anything. And I mean, Ben is a lawyer. He has time to study generally, but yeah, like in the early, in the 2000 teens or whatever, Ben Shapiro started taking off because that whole conservative thing. But this is what made me realize. Well, I shouldn't say that. I was thinking about this the other day when I was sitting around and I was watching some of these guys talk about how upset they were that Tucker Carlson would platform someone like Nick Fuentes. So you got your guys like Mark Levin out there, Ben Shapiro. These guys are the old neocon media. And they can sense that now has come the dying of the old media. I've been talking about this ad nauseum for about 5 years since I've been on YouTube. You're watching the 20th century media model break down in real time. Because back in the day, you could get away with lying. And this is honestly some of the pressure. Like there was a bill introduced in Michigan by some neocons. Remember, and always remember this, neocons are not conservatives. Okay? Neocons are their own things. Neocons are actually Trotskyites. They want constant war. They believe in Keynesian economic. Well, most of what you hear about, from my understanding of Keynes, I probably need to do a little bit more research on him. But from the way I understand it, what he was really saying is different than what a lot of people make it out to be. What he was saying was that in good times, you want to raise the taxes so you can bring in more revenue. And then during bad times, you lower taxes and increase government spending to flood money into the economy. Personally, I'm opposed to any form of, I shouldn't say any form, but I'm opposed to most forms of central planning. I don't think anybody is smart enough to figure it out. I just think increase the M2 money supply 6 to 6.5%. Go to the beach. It'll work itself out. People know what they're doing. But these neocons up in Michigan, they introduced a bill. And that bill was, they're trying to get basically a digital ID. A $500,000 fine for using a VPN to skirt government internet control. The digital ID, see, Tony Blair, not a dumb man. Hillary Clinton, awful person, not a dumb woman. She saw it back in the day. Hillary Clinton and, Tony Blair basically had the same idea. Hillary Clinton wanted a controlled internet. Because, here's why. Here's how she figured it out. It was the Drudge Report in whatever it was, 97, that released the information that Monica Lewinsky and him had been, having their dalliances in the White House. Which, you got to admire the mastery of the media. Monica Lewinsky was a young girl. Personally, I think she was sent there as a spy by Israel, but that's me. I have no proof of that. I can't back that up, but I'm just going to say, how do you become the president's aide like that? President's intern? You kind of got to have connections. Lewinsky. You know, Clinton wasn't doing what Israel wanted on the Oslo Accords. PSYOP. Yeah, there you go. But she saw it. Tony Blair saw it. Tony Blair has been trying to, and I played the episode of him talking about the digital ID. Tony Blair has been trying to get the digital ID since the late 90s. He saw it coming. And it's here. This is the end stage. I think it will be looked back on, my opinion. Only time will prove this correct. But, correct or incorrect. But it is my opinion that the last election took place. And that election was Donald Trump. And there is nothing that comes after Trump. Yeah, no, I would agree. Blair is trying to become relevant again. But Blair, yeah, again, he's narcissistic, psychopathic. I'm not going to defend that dude. I think Tony Blair is one of the most evil guys. I should have done a tribute to Dick Cheney tonight. I'll do that next week. Right? But, you know, because I just got on this subject. But Donald Trump is the last politician, in my opinion. There's nothing that can come after him. Who are you going to get to replace him? Is he really over being shorted? Yeah, no, dude, honestly, Alex Karp he's butthurt about it. Bro, think about it like this. Michael Burry has a big following, right? This is why Alex Karp is actually having a melty over it. Michael Burry can draw attention, and then people start talking about how overvalued Palantir is. And I don't know if you were in here, Quality, but I actually showed how overvalued it is just by using the accounting formula. The market's saying it's worth $452 billion. There's only $8 billion in assets. It's not possible that it's not close enough that you can actually sit there. If it was like, you know, if Palantir was trading at $16 billion and somebody went, hey, Jay, I think Palantir is massively overvalued, I would go, dude, it's trading at like $16 billion. It has $8 billion in assets. Like, yeah, that's, you know, it's massively overvalued because it's double. I would go, yeah, no, bro, it might not be. To be honest with you, I mean, that's one doubling. I mean, even if you only got like a 4% return, it'll double in 15 years. That's 4% per year. And I mean, it's a smaller company, so it can grow faster. But yeah, that's why though. It's because there's a narrative behind Palantir. And if Michael Burry starts poking holes in the narrative, that company can crash very quickly. Again, that's why I said I used in that example Occidental Petroleum. It's got about $84 billion in assets and its market cap is $40 billion. If somebody said, I'm going to short this and I was the CEO, I would go, good luck, man. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But it is what it is. Because the whole point is, once the narrative starts to go, the psyop falls apart. And that's what the entire media apparatus is, a giant psyop. But what I'm saying is, after Trump, there's no politician that can replace him. Okay, J.D. Vance might be like a good heir apparent. But for the most part, here's my prediction on the whole thing. The neocons see that their time is limited. Americans are sick of war. We've been at war for the past 20 years. We're sick of bombing everybody. Nobody wants to do it. Okay? Here's what happens. No matter who we vote for, we get John McCain. Because this is going to be my point about Nick Fuentes. No matter who we vote for, we get John McCain. We have 2008, right? Hopi McChange. Hopi McHopium comes into office. Okay? We're like, all right, Barack Obama's in there. He's a cool chocolate guy. This dude isn't gonna, he's gonna be different. It's hope and change. He's gonna listen to whistleblowers. He's gonna stop the perpetual wars in the Middle East. What happened? Barack Obama turned into John McCain. He's basically a continuation of the George W. Bush presidency. Okay, so that sets the stage for Donald J. Trump. Trump comes into office. The deep state doesn't want him in there because he hasn't been doing things like going to Bohemian Grove and letting some other politician bang him and then take pictures of him so they have dirt. He's not going to the Skull and Bones meetings where, George W. Bush and, John Kerry get in the casket and finger each other for 3 days so that they have dirt on each other. Right? He's not going there. Okay? Then the PSYOP happens. Media. What? Are you a Trumper? The regressive tolerance. Both sides use it. Both sides use regressive tolerance. When I was talking about the drug war a minute ago, I've had people say, I'm not going to sit here and listen to your talk of drugs being legal. And I'm looking at them and I go, I don't give a fuck whether you like my opinion or not. It's not going to change because you're offended. Being offended is not an argument. I don't know how we got in this country to where somebody can make a reasoned argument about why they will not participate in some program. And the argument is, I'm offended, so you need to change your position. It's never happening. I'm disagreeable, and I'll just double down on it and then tell you to go suck a hobo's dick. All right. Donald Trump comes in there. The election was, I'm not going to say it was stolen in 2020. It was pilfered. A little bit different. Sounds a little bit better. Stolen, negative connotation. You know what? Let's go even better. Because I don't want to put a false narrative out there. All I'm going to say about the 2020 elections is that it had all the hallmarks of deep state interference. Okay? They put President Dementia in there and Vice President Giggler. Okay? That was a disaster. You got John McCain. We got to start another war, this time with Russia. Okay. Trump comes back in. Again, Trump turns into John McCain. I am actually criticizing Trump right now. Okay? There's no reason to bomb Venezuela. We do not need to be perpetually at war. I know that's what the deep state wants. It's not what Trump wants. I get all that. But, anyways, overall, I would give Trump probably a B+. A B? Yeah, I'm going to give him a B on this because basically in this presidency so far I'm giving him a B because, and I knew it wasn't going to come out. We didn't get Epstein and you bombed Iran. I'm tired of the war, moratorium, whatever. But who's going to replace Donald Trump coming in? J.D. Vance. I like J.D. Vance. But he's not the same thing as Donald. He's nowhere near as charismatic. It is what it is, man. So, these neocons, they're probably going to get kicked out of the party, and they realize they're losing control. I think by 2035, the world is going to look quite different. I'm not saying the United States is going to retreat into itself and become isolationist, but I don't see how this old media model is going to survive, the death of the boomers. Okay? The boomers have been, they're the first generation that were psyoped from the beginning. The problem is, after the boomers, there was too much access to information because of the internet. When I was growing up, and, my brother, he's pretty much like the beginning of Gen X, 71. Yeah, no, maybe it was like 64, whatever it is. So he's midway through, and I'm supposed to be Gen X, but I think a better term for us is either elder millennial or the Star Wars generation, because I was born in 78. That generation is just too long. In 20 years, we don't have a lot in common. Okay. A guy born in to be honest with you, I probably have more in common with my baby boomer family members than I do with Zoomers, but we grew up closer in lifestyle. But what are they going to do? It's done. The entire media is done, in my opinion. Hollywood is going to fall apart. I don't know if you saw it, but Brian Callen. Is it like Brian Callen? Yeah, it's exactly that. Too hard to hide things now. Is JD makes, he's a Peter Thiel. Yeah, Peter Thiel scares the shit out of me too. Opium McMoney pants. Yeah. I don't mind Vance, but again, it's what I wanted to show you? You know what? Never mind. We're like an hour in. I'm probably not going to go much longer because I've covered 3 subjects. But to tell you, if you know who Brian Callen is, he's one of the comedians in the Rogan sphere. And he put out his latest video, or his latest special, right? And it was god awful. It's on Netflix. But I was just watching, him talking about the special and all of that. Right? And I'm just sitting there and I'm looking at this guy. And I go, this dude is basically a proxy for the entire entertainment industry and its satellite industry, like news. News is mostly just news entertainment at this point. But I'm just watching this guy who's 60 years old. He just had a couple of kids. Couple of kids with the new wife who's like in her early 30s, early to mid 30s at this point. He's stuck on The Fighter and the Kid, which is falling apart. But YouTube is going to fall apart, to be honest with you, on that too. But I was like, this is just, it's a microcosm of the entire entertainment industry. Where I can't even look at most celebrities. The aura's gone. The awe is gone. These people. Too much access to information. We see who they really are. But I'm just sitting there. I'm looking at Brian Callen. And I'm like, this dude is pathetic. He really is. He has no skills. No, I actually don't think you are. I cannot say, I was going to do a tribute to him, and I'll probably do that next weekend. But to be honest with you, I don't have anything nice to say about that man. I honestly, I think the dude was pure evil. I never met him and only interacted with him through the screen. But I think that dude was pure evil. It was actually amazing to me because we're talking about the narrative failing, the PSYOP failing. Did anybody else during the 2024 election, when they were sitting there, find it bizarre that Dick Cheney came out to oppose Donald Trump? As if any reasonable person is going to sit there and go, oh, I was going to vote. I was going to vote for Donald Trump, but I was sitting there, and then Dick Cheney, he came on TV and he set me straight on that. Like, dude, it was fascinating at how the media doesn't even understand it's a walking corpse. Oh, dude, I'll check out Alex Jones' tribute to him. But the media doesn't even understand that it's a walking corpse. Here we are, Richard Cheney. Oh, yeah, dude, just glazing. Yeah, Liz Cheney thought that she had the juice to go up against Donald J. Trump, right? That might be one of the funniest things I've ever seen is Liz Cheney out there, fighting the good fight, as if anybody cares what Liz Cheney has to say about anything. And again, these politicians don't get it yet, but they will. Like what I was saying about Brian Callen. You know what I mean? I was looking there at this withered husk of a corpse who is stuck on the fighter and the kid. Why am I saying this nasty stuff about Brian? Well, it's not really that nasty. It's just the reality of it. Brian Callen is a 60-year-old man in the entertainment industry who runs around on stage, telling shitty jokes, right? But I was sitting there when I was listening to him talk in his delusion about things, where deep down in the back of his mind, I think he knows what the reality is. He tried to move on from Brendan Schaub, but he couldn't. It's almost like Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader. They just want to drag each other down like a couple of females. You ever notice how evil has a lot of feminine characteristics? Just does. But I just noticed, I just thought of that right now. It's evil, like Darth Vader and Darth Sidious, they were acting like two little bitches squabbling over power within the Empire. But Brian Callen's just sitting there, and I'm like, yeah, this is the media. Brian Callen doesn't even realize that comedy's dead. It's going to be another generation before comedy comes back. Rogan, God bless him, as much as I like his podcast and as much as I've defended him, saying to my 6 fans, but I've said he's not the worst comedian out there. But Rogan has done a fucking stand-up comedy a disservice by just talking about how great these people are. It is pushed, and it's like that. It can only go on for so long. And what the neocons aren't getting is that if you lie to people long enough, eventually you're gonna get the motherfucker that comes along. Eventually, the working class and the poor go, okay, fine. We asked you for, to make society whatever. I mean, a lot of what they're asking for is actual bullshit. But we've asked you to stop sending our money overseas. We've asked you to stop with the constant wars, and you don't want to do it. Here you go. And eventually, that is how you get an actual Hitler or a Stalin, is you keep screwing people over. You keep telling them that everything's going to get better, but what you're really doing is it's just lip service. That's all it is. But, yeah. Now, the whole thing is just like a steaming pile of shit, and it's going to collapse. And I'm going to do these last couple comments and get out of here. Sorry this one wasn't longer. I don't know. I got to start doing my homework. I say that every podcast, but it is what it is. I like Rogan, but he's very naive and easily manipulated. Yep. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he does. Rogan gets exploited because he's a nice guy. Or at least that's what I kind of think he is. I don't know. I've never met him. But he does. He gets exploited by a lot of his friends. And it is what it is. But, all right, guys. I'm going to call that a podcast. Like I said, I should be back next week. Oh, is it really? I didn't even pay attention. What's it at now? Bitcoin. Well, when the Bitcoin crash comes, yeah, I mean, it's still trading above 100, but when the crypto crash finally comes, it's going to happen a lot. And again, I don't know where Bitcoin is going. I don't think Bitcoin is actually going to implode in the way that a lot of people do. I think Bitcoin is going to be around for a while. I think a lot of the other crypto is going to just fall apart. But I think Bitcoin is going to basically follow the market now, is what I'm saying. And, I think look, if the market's overvalued by about a factor of 2 to 2.5, your Buffett indicator is ridiculous at this point. Current Buffett indicator. 223%, the highest Buffett indicator of all time. But yeah, is what it is. But anyways, guys, is there somebody else down here? Is somebody else have? Let me see that. What's happening? All right, guys. Yep. Bad actors. Rogan platform. Yep. It is what it is. Hey, but guys, I just want to say I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight, and try to keep it fun and talk about shit that I want to talk about. So I appreciate any views or any comments that you give me, and I just want to say I hope you guys have a great week, and thanks for listening. And I'm out. Have a great one, guys.